Good day, family. Good day again. This is Dr. Manganyi. Our program is Health Talk. Family, let me take this opportunity and time again to thank my parents, Pastor Swike and Pastor Joylene, for this wonderful, wonderful opportunity for me and other professionals in our church to come and share our experiences about our work. I would not be doing justice if I do not appreciate and thank Dr. Mabobo Hlekani, who is one of our medical practitioners in our church. She's one of the pioneers, in children's issues, and she's hands-on when it comes to issues of COVID-19 as well in our church and in our district and province. Family, today I want to labor on what I've already started with you. The last time I said to you that I was going to share with you my experiences with COVID-19, with particular reference to the quarantine. What I did as the last week, or when we last met, I told you about my day one. That was the day that I was discharged from hospital. And I'm sure you will remember quite well, I spoke to you very extensively about me trying to negotiate, and make a plea, with God about, me having to stick around where I indicated that I thought it was in time that I should leave. But today I want to take you to day 2, because day 2 for me became very critical, and you will understand why I say it became such a critical day. Day 2 of my quarantine became very critical because on this day, the Department of Health was coming to my house. Remember that my family now became the people that I had contact with. Now, my family had to be screened or to be tested, of the virus. This then became very critical because, look, I've already tested positive. And if my family was to test and to be screened, and if they were to test positive, what it meant was that the entire family now would be COVID-19 positive. And what scared me the most now was to say, if we are all positive, who was going to care for who? If all of us now are quarantined, what's going to happen, to us and to happen to the family? And you would imagine, on this day, as I remember very well, the morning when the people from or officials from the Department of Health arrived at my house. Remember, my plea was that I should not die, I should not this, I should not that. Let me tell you, for the first time I understand, the language of the advocates, the language in the law fraternity where people are changing their plea bargain. This time, if my family was to test positive, all of us, that for me was going to be catastrophic. And my plea bargain has to change. I had to change because I was like, it is better that I'm the only one who is affected. Not my family, not my children, not my wife. And my plea bargain said, God, if it means that, I be, if I'm sacrificed for the entire family, let it be so. But it cannot be all of us. Now begin to realize that Unlike before, when I thought I was the important person, I should leave, I should not go. But this time, because, there's a family involved, I'm thinking, it's better that I go. I have lived long enough, but let my children live. Let their mother live to see to it that, they grow well as children. The officials from Department of Health arrived, and all they came to do, it was to screen and to, all my contacts, and to have interviews and all of those. And the family was screened, and some tests were taken, and everything else. And after a while, after all of that has been done, because there were only about 4 people in the house, it was easy to work with. And once they were done, surprised, they left. My spiritual parents know, because I shared, this part with them, that I was so hurt that, the people from Department of Health came to my house because of me, who tested positive, came to test my family and left. I even checked, with after they have left, whether they've asked about me, whether they're coming back this time just to talk to me, just to see how I was doing and everything else. I was so disappointed to learn that they have left, that they didn't even inquire about me, and they only came to have contact with my contact, with the people that I have contact with. That was my family, and they left, and their work was done. The family was given a task. They were supposed to take temperatures every day, send them to the department. And because their health was to be monitored. And on top of that, this family of mine now, they were told, because now they have had a contact with someone who is now positive, although they all tested negative, they were also in isolation. They were also in quarantine. They were not, from that second day, they were not supposed to go out for shopping. They were not supposed to go out for anything. So the entire family is now in quarantine. Nobody goes out of the house. Nobody goes out for anything, for shopping, for jogging, for all of these things. Now all of us as a family, we are now in quarantine. If we lack any supplies, you know what we have to do? We have to rely on, buying things online. Most of us, do not, are not familiar with all these things. We sometimes do not even promote them. We think they're not safe. We are so stingy with our credit cards and all these other gadgets, and we're thinking, if I need something, I will just go buy. My family was confronted with a situation now where all of us could not go out. If we needed stuff, we need to buy online. For stuff that we cannot get online, we have to rely on, relatives, friends, people that we know. And let me be very honest with you. I would be very, very naive not to acknowledge, the closest people that, who have already volunteered, that they would, whenever they go buy bread for themselves, they would buy bread for us. And guess what? Dr. Mukiti, became one of those people. She after, the Department of Health, after learning that she's staying in the same area where we live, they even task her that, she should come and encourage my family, and if they need counseling, she should be at hand to assist them. So when I said to you, Dr. Hlekani is one person that, have been in the forefront in our church, but also this time she was in the forefront in assisting my family as well, in counseling and just, ensuring that, my family doesn't go on a panic button. But over and above, our family friends, the Malulekes, they've always been there for us. They said to us, there's no need, that you buy online. Sometimes when you buy all things online, when you need bananas, you want ripe bananas, but sometimes your green bananas will be delivered and you will not be able to enjoy them. So these are the people that have been there and ensuring that, in these challenging times, in this adversity, they tried their utmost best to ensure that our lives, become normal as possible. But over and above all of that, you remember previously, I think in our last episode, I said to you, I do not know what is it that we would have done as a family if we didn't have the support, the encouragement that we got from our spiritual parents. There would not be a day where, Pastor Joylene, Pastor Swag will not call my family, will not call me just to check how I was doing, just to check how I slept, how were things, to encourage me to say, it's not over until the Lord say it is. But over and above all these things that I'm telling you, there's this one concept that I thought, it is very critical, and and it would not only help me, but it didn't only help me, but it might help you as well. That when you are in a very stressful situation, when you are in a situation that it's a matter of life and death, there's this word that is often used. It's the word is catastrophe. It's just a similar word to when you have some adversity. Is when you're having, some deep challenges. But today I thought I wanted to also not only sharing about my experience, but bring this word into the picture. There's this word which is taken from the word catastrophe, and is called catastrophing, or you cato. It's quite an interesting concept. But what I'm trying to bring home here is, when you have a situation, it's challenging, it's difficult, it's nothing that you can begin to comprehend. What happens here is that the moment you are challenged, you have your mind can respond in this way. First, there's this thing which we call, a downward spiral. And downward spiral, it's, I'm sure you should be familiar with this concept. It's where you are, say you are up there and you are in the top, say you are in the top building and you are falling down. And, there's nothing that can hold you. When you are top there, the only place that you are heading is guaranteed is down there. Sometimes, you might not be in a high building, it could be that you are going to fall, but you're not going to fall very far. But you could be in a high building, but you'll be falling, very far. It means the impact will be different. Of course, for the person who is in a high building, it will not be wrong for you to think that by the time you hit the ground, you'll be dead. But sometimes, you could be in a building which is not so high, or, and sometimes when you fall, the impact will not be that hard. So with this concept that, I struggle to pronounce, but basically what I was this concept is about, I can only explain it, it's more like you are in a situation, but you kind of exaggerate it. You are in a situation, you kind of, this thing, I'm not gonna leave, I'm not gonna make it, I'm not gonna, I'm finished. And let the truth be told, it's not all these situations that we come across in this life that are necessarily meant to crush us. It's not all the situations that we come across in this life that are meant, to destroy us. Some of them are only there, to remind us that we are not here as permanent citizens. Some of these situations, are here to remind us that we are not as brave, we are not as intellect as we think we are, because when you are challenged, sometimes even if you are highly intelligent, even if your IQ has been tested and found to be up high, when you come across adversities, let me tell you, your mind comes to a standstill. That is why, even when you are a medical doctor, when you are confronted with some health challenges, sometimes you will not even be able to administer any treatment to yourself. You cannot even diagnose yourself. You are the best in the field, but you're not the best to help yourself. Therefore, that's why I'm bringing this thing to say, when you have adversities, we need to understand that they are not necessarily here to crush us. They're not, just to remind us that we are human. And human as we are, we need, therefore, not only to rely on ourselves, we also have to rely on the people around us. When we are confronted with a catastrophe, with an adversity, it is a drama by itself. What we are, the advice is not to go further to dramatize it, which we sometimes often do. Let me quickly take you a little bit backward. Last time I gave you an example about, I spoke about divorce. I don't know why divorce always come into a picture. Have you realized that sometimes a person who is divorced or who is given a divorce paper is someone who sometimes for 5 years has been living away from a partner. This person has been doing, actually, you were unmarried for 5 years. You were doing things independently, nobody helping you, paying school fees, buying this, and everything else. You were coping, and you're coping very well. But guess what? When the divorce process, for instance, is finalized, now you are given a paper. Nothing has changed. It's the same person, you are coping very well. But suddenly, because you're given a paper which says your marriage is now over, guess what happens to you? Your mind comes to a standstill. Suddenly you think you can't cope. Suddenly you think, you can't live, without your husband. But you have been doing so in the past 5 years without any hiccups whatsoever. That brings back the same concept that I was saying. We dramatize. We suddenly be given a piece of paper. Suddenly we are on a downward spiral. We think we are falling. The end has come. And this is the same thing that sometimes would happen to most of us. That when you have a diagnosis, in my case, the diagnosis was COVID-19 positive. It could be any other dreadful disease that we suffer from. Sometimes when you get just a confirmation that you have the disease, you tell yourself, I'm finished. This time around, with specific reference to COVID-19, there's this one thing that I have learned, and I'm sure my lesson here was also going to help somebody else. As people, when we're confronted with challenges, the first thing that we do is to try anything and everything, to find a solution. You try this, you try that. You try and change this condition, this situation which is uncomfortable, to make it comfortable. When everything has failed, you realize this one truth, that actually you do not necessarily have to change the situation. You don't have to change things around you. The situation, you can live with the situation around you. The only thing that you have to change is you. It's you adapting to the situation that you find yourself in. And this is so true with COVID-19 because you are diagnosed. That is the situation that you're confronted with. That's the situation around you. And guess what? You are told you are in isolation. You are not given treatment for COVID-19. You are in quarantine. Quarantine is not medicine. Quarantine is not, a prescription. Yeah, you have to learn to do what you should have done in the first place. You have to do what I encourage most of us to do in most cases. That some of these situations, things that we're trying to change, actually, they're not meant to be changed. The only thing that needs to change here is us. If we can learn that, that for this situation is not to be changed. This situation actually requires me to change. And that, because you have control over yourself, you can then learn to adapt and live with this situation that you find yourself in. I think going forward, one thing that helped me and helped my family was to understand and to accept that we find ourselves in this condition, in this situation. We can't change it, but, we have a choice in terms of how we respond and how we adapt. And, going forward, I think I'm going to be talking to you a great deal about, the best way to adapt into stressful situation. And, there's no way that we can do that without even talking about resilience, because this is an ability to bounce back. Family, this was a wonderful time together. And let me take this time again, not only to thank my parents, but, to thank all the comments, from our Facebook, friends, and also, people from our church and the public at large. We appreciate your comments, and for anything that, you would want us to assist and be of any help, do not hesitate to call us. And, because this is a platform that has been created for us to assist each other, and to help Aja in the process. Family, I thank you once again.